Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I am your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest today is the lovely Luannah Arana. Am I pronouncing it right? Luannah Arana.
Yeah,
And
there's a lot of A's. There's a lot of A's.
a lot of A's, which we need today because we're in retrograde. So
Release.
release.
Yeah.
And, you know, the beautiful thing is she's a conscious alchemist, which is wonderful. And, you know, the inner alchemist to transform trauma and challenges into opportunities. And the thing is, what people don't realize is that there is always a way to actually find an opportunity out of something, even if it's the darkest thing that's happening to you. Why did this happen to you? You're very traumatized by it, but it's always what I find a redirect and a way of kind of going in and understanding really what the purpose is of why you're here. And, you know, she says it's in the same way, inner alchemy is the process of transmuting the negative patterns and beliefs and habits, usually born of trauma, that block and impede our personal empowerment and evolution to our true self. So when you are kind of hit with the cosmic 2x4, you know, don't look upon it as the be all and the end all. It's very often it is that way of redirecting you into connecting into your beautiful alchemy and the reason why you are here. She's been doing this for 25 years of practicing a magnitude of healing modalities and techniques, and working with over 6,000 clients. Wow, you've been busy, girl. And she has... when do you breathe? And she's now distilled the essence of what she's learned and put it to, you know, to become the inner alchemist, where the outer world no longer has the same debilitating impact as it can. Oh boy, do we need that right now. The outer static that is going on is, you know, I've said the universe is here right now to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up. But I think in a lot of ways we're inviting people to step up, but we're still very much in the shaking up stage, aren't we?
Yes. And the thing is the outer noise always ends up activating our inner noise.
Yes.
I liken it to Velcro. This is how, when I with my clients, you know, and I mean, a lot of time people are afraid of energies that are on the outside world. Mm-hmm. And I used to be too. I used to walk into a London Drugs and it would take me 2 days to recover.
Yeah.
From being an empath and picking everything up, but not knowing how to navigate it, right?
Right.
But what I found is that, you know, there was a day I went, well, this isn't the way life wants me to live. Mm-hmm. There's got to be a way that I can hold my energy and my strength and who I am, no matter where I am.
Right.
And so what I recognize is that those outer noises and frequencies, they were a match for the traumas I had inside me. Mm-hmm. And the only reason they had an impact on me was because I had the matching Velcro piece inside of me.
Right.
That they could stick to.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I discovered that, it was an insight that came in when I was just like, this can't be my life. I can't live. I'm a people person. I don't want to be isolated. Yes. I want to do what I do. I don't want to be suffering for days afterwards, you know? And so what I realized is that, okay, so if I have that matching Velcro, then my work is looking for where that matching Velcro piece is inside of me. Mm-hmm. And reconciling whatever that trauma or hurt is. Right. And so it ended up being a process where I started looking at these adversarial influences and forces as actually being a feedback system.
Yeah.
For my inner world. Mm-hmm. And even the abuses that I've endured, physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse, being in narcissistic relationships with somebody who, you know, squashed me right down to thinking I was horrible and, you know, and I had no value.
Size of a gnat,
right?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, right. And so, but I realized when I started working on myself more deeply right? Beyond what the spiritual and self-help gurus say, it's about trauma. We can never embody all of this wisdom until we heal our trauma. And so what I did is I recognized that, particularly there's one relationship where, you know, I had to practically beg to buy underwear and go out for a coffee. And if I wanted to go out for a coffee, it was a huge battle.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
But I had met him in a place, in a time when I was broken.
Right.
And he was my landing rock.
Right.
Right. So I had been living in Switzerland, and I lost my life that I built up in 4 years in 24 hours. I had to leave everything behind. And so with that, I landed in Germany, and then I met him, and, you know, I had no papers, so it was good. It helped me get my papers. So in the retrospect, I see he was the perfect landing place. And also because he reflected to me where I didn't love myself.
Right.
And when I saw that, I went, okay, so he's a messenger too. It's not just the frequencies in the world that are messengers.
Yes.
It's the people that are against me, the people that are, you know, trying to put me down, make me feel less than I am. And I grew up in a household that did that. And at school, I was bullied, you know, and, you know, all of that stuff is there. And the thing is that we move forward in our physicality in time, but our nervous system does not move.
No.
So in a really empowering truth that came to me through my Hawaiian elder in Hawaii is that he says we live in 2 time zones simultaneously: vertical time and horizontal time. So horizontal time is we have a past, present, future, right? And we are always focused either more on the past and the future, and we're very rarely present. And vertical time is the eternal now.
Right. Hence
so
the cross.
The eternal now. And it's the key to our evolution and healing to resume being our true self that got interrupted because of traumas and difficulties and just life challenges. No life is without adversarial forces that come to challenge it. Right?
No growth. No growth happens from that.
No growth happens without the friction of the two polarity.
Yes. Where does fire come from? You know, the friction, the spark, right?
Yes. That's exactly the metaphor I use all the time, right? And so that in that vertical time, that's where our nervous system is still living in that perpetual now, with that trauma charge that's still in our body.
Yeah.
Right? And so the healing is about how do I become present. You know, and still we have our peripheral vision on past and future, past for learning, not for dwelling, for learning. And future is the vision that I have for my life.
Right.
Or the growth that I'm looking to achieve, or the healing I'm looking to have, right? So both timelines are important. It's not about choosing one over the other.
Yes.
We need to have that spherical vision, and we need to have the presence of now.
Right. Yeah, the now is the channeling, isn't it? It's the connecting, it's the knowingness. Yeah.
Exactly. In Hawaii, they call it manava. It means I am now.
Right.
So if you tune into that, it's different than it is now.
Yes.
It is now, it's now is separate. It's not a part of me. I'm not in relationship with it. It's outside of me. I am now means I am that force of life force, creativity, energy, that is present and flowing through us every second of every day. But what happens is we forget to connect to that, and we're drawn here or here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, this eternal now is evading us, and this is where our healing is. This is where our growth is, and this is where our empowerment is. Right? And so, but when we have trauma, our eternal now is tainted by those trauma charges that are still active in our nervous system.
It's a distrust, isn't it? How can you trust the now because you're viewing it from the eyes of the trauma?
Exactly. And also, we end up starting to feel safe in our trauma responses.
Yes.
Because we know them, they're familiar. Right? And to meet the now, that means we have to meet what caused us to create our coping mechanisms in the first place.
Right.
And that's scary if we don't have the tools.
It's scary, not only because we don't have the tools, because we haven't yet discovered who we are, and we define ourselves from what has happened to us. You know,
Yes, exactly.
our identity is the trauma. If that happened to us, you know, if I allowed that, what kind of person am I? I must be a low life. You know, we could talk ourselves down into the gutter very, very
Exactly.
easily. But we don't know
Yeah,
actually how to have the dialogue to rise us up, do we? There's something,
exactly.
a permission missing there to no, you are not that. This is something that happened to you. Out of it,
Mhm,
you are meant to grow into
mhm.
something with an
Yeah,
understanding, with a knowledge, with a gift because of your
yeah.
experience. You are not meant to become the victimization or the trauma in that. That is not your identity. That is simply something that happened to you. It is not
Mhm.
you. But
Exactly.
we identify
Exactly.
so much with that victimhood, and it's so hard to move on from that.
And it is because we have that visceral sensation in our body as if the trauma just happened,
Yes.
right?
And as a
So
memory, you know, you can bring up those feelings immediately, like that had happened a minute ago, right? If you're not
yes,
willing to
exactly.
face it. The thing is not to forget what happened to you, because it was part of your learning curve. The thing is don't associate the pain with what happened to you, which will block you from moving away from it. We can look at it and say, this happened, as you said, this happened to me, that happened to me. It happened to you, and what did you do with it? That was the thing, and you
Yeah,
rose
and it
up
took
from
a
it.
lot of years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
not just, it's not like,
a
I just
downloadable
want to
app.
clarify, it's not like you just have that decision and it's easy. No, it's like going to the gym and working out.
Mm-hmm.
In the moments when I have an emotional trigger, those are the moments I have to draw on and implement
Mm-hmm.
the tools, the insights. So I slowly create a new habit
Yeah.
of response to the trauma. So now I shared all of that very lightly, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I would have shared that journey 7, 8 years ago, it would have still choked me a little bit. I
Right.
would have felt it in my body still, right?
Yes.
Even though that relationship happened like 25 years ago.
Yes. Yes.
But it had such an impact because it played with my my main hard drive that told
Mm-hmm.
me I'm not lovable, I'm not enough. In order for people to love me, I have to change. They don't have to do anything, right? All of these things, I'll never succeed. I was given that messaging as a child all the time from my teachers. I
Mm-hmm.
lived part-time, often on the streets as a punk from age 14 to 16. So I had strangers screaming in my face, you loser, you failure, you know.
Yeah.
So I got to experience another part of humanity there. I'm like, wow, these people don't know me. They don't know the suffering that I have from what's been going on in my family. And they're just judging,
Oh, but
right?
humans do
But
that extremely well, don't
but
they? Yeah.
yeah. So that relationship, it amplified and brought all of that stuff forward.
Mm-hmm.
But fortunately, since I was very young, I've always had a connection to philosophy,
Mm-hmm.
religion. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I've always been a seeker. You know, age 7, I was praying to Jesus on my own. I have no religious family at all, right? But I always had a sense of something. There's something else that's there that makes
Yeah.
more sense than the reality that I'm in, and I want to find it.
Right.
And so that led me to traveling all around the world, working abroad. I lived in Asia for about 8 months too, you know, Israel, Turkey, Germany, Switzerland, you know, all over Hawaii, Costa Rica. I've been traveling everywhere my whole life, learning different techniques and
Mm-hmm.
also learning how do these people, how are they human
Mm-hmm.
in the world?
Mm-hmm.
What are their tools,
Mm-hmm.
right? What are the ways that, you know, even though sometimes, you know, ancient wisdom seems so out of reach, right? It doesn't seem like it's possible to apply it to life. But I always thought there's got to be a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's what I've worked on my whole life. I've done my own healing work, you know, and with the grace and the blessings of having encountered some amazing teachers along the way that have supported me, right? But all this to get back to the now, the manava. How do I use these wisdoms
Yes.
to come back and be present so that that's my point of power is now.
Yeah.
My power is not in the past and my power is not in the future. But
Well,
the question is, how do I get to the now,
yeah. I mean,
right?
what you
And so,
seed and water in the now is what's going to grow in the next moment. So if you don't want a bad experience in the next moment, make sure that this moment is good, right? Because
well, or
that's the
even if it's
vibration
not
it will
good,
carry on.
But even if it's not good, that I use it to learn about myself.
Right. It's not a
versus
personal attack, right? That's
versus being in the trauma loop, in the trance.
Yes.
That our past stories, our inner narratives bring us in, because we all have an inner narrative, and the inner narrative can be brought down to just two things: either the world is friendly and the universe loves me and I am a part of the universe and I can grow just like nature can grow, or everything is against me.
Right.
So all of our inner narratives stem from one of these beliefs.
Right.
And if we've had trauma, we tend to go towards the world is against me.
Right. Which is what we're seeing right now.
Nobody sees me, nobody loves me. Right? And so it's very eye-opening, and with my clients that I work with, when they see, oh wow, that's right. So where's my narrative coming from?
Right. Yeah.
Right? So when we discover where our inner narrative is coming from, and there's no judgment, there's no right or wrong. It's not about right or wrong. It's about, okay, here in this now moment, let me identify what is the direction I'm going. Life is in favor of me or against me. And once I see that, I can say, oh, well, is this true that life is against me? And then I can look and I can see nature. I can look at the trees. I can look at the animals. I can look at everything else in existence. And even though there's destruction, there's recreation.
Absolutely.
Which means there's an intelligence that I can access, because I am nature too.
Right.
And then in that moment of now, I can shift. That's the alchemy, shifting that bad moment into, I won't even say a good moment or positive. I won't say that even. I'll say a useful moment.
Right. Productive.
Right? Something that I turn it into something useful for me. I can't change the abuses that have happened to me, but I can change how I am relating to those abuses and traumas and losses, so that I can be sovereign in myself and in my choice making of where do I want to go? Who do I want to be? But it's a work, right? It's not like a magic silver bullet.
No.
And so the thing is that we have to have that absolute openness and willingness to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Right?
Willingness to yeah. I mean, I think that actually your vulnerability is the greatest gift you can give to yourself, because that's when you're open and willing to receive, right? It's also taking responsibility and accountability for what happens to you, because you're now also in choice in that vulnerability. You're in your choice. I choose to be vulnerable. I choose to be open and willing to see. And that is, I think, a great gift.
It's a process to get there, though.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, it is. I mean, a lot of your journey is a journey that I've made myself, and I'm, yes, as empaths, you go in and you feel the vibration, and of course the static and the vibration is at a screaming pitch at the present moment with everything that's happening in the world, and it's very easy for people to get caught up in the tornado. They're busy spectating it. Yeah, I mean, it's just because it's so unreasonable, everything. And hysteria is something that is very contagious, and you have to catch yourself and go, hang on, should I not let this be the water off the duck's back? Right? I can look at it, I can make comment about it, I can put empathy out and love and healing out there, but I don't have to be a part of the tornado in order to do it. And as you said, that Velcro, if you feel yourself pulling towards it, it's like, hang on, is this triggering something inside of you? Right? Do you want to get back into that tornado? Because look how long it took you to get out. You don't want to go back there.
Or I might even say, maybe we need to go into the tornado with awareness to understand why it affects us so much. Right? So the way I understand life, I'm never exiling an experience. Right. I'm embracing it. Right? So, but the thing is to identify, right? What is happening? Oh, this is really impacting me. Where is it impacting me? Yeah. Where maybe did I experience a similar violence towards me?
Right.
Where did I witness something similar that impacted me that I wasn't able to process because it was so horrific? Right? So it's even, going into the tornado with your headlamp on and your gear, and you're like, okay, let's rock.
Somebody being able to pull you back out again.
No, we will pull ourselves out already because we're doing it intentionally.
Right.
We're not being twisted and turned and, to, you know, like in an undertow in the ocean, right? When we go in with the intention, okay, this has surfaced in my life how many times? 20 times? Okay, every time I've run, I've tried to avoid, I've tried to paste positivity, I've tried to do this, I've tried to do that, and it's never worked because it keeps coming back. So my alternative is, okay, let's go in.
Right.
Let's encounter. What is it that's being activated in me? You know, or if I see somebody who's being, you know, really mean too, I can say, have I ever been mean?
Yes.
Do I have a trace of that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? We don't like to see that we actually are mean sometimes too, or we have been.
We have knee-jerk reactions, right? We've been there. We've done that. It's
those knee-jerk
defensiveness.
reactions, those knee-jerk reactions come from our trauma.
Right. And there's a sense of hopelessness, isn't there? I mean, nobody wants to feel helpless or hopeless. You know, that's a state of being we don't want to be. And sometimes we get paralyzed by where we think we've been put. And, you know, it's just hopeless. I can't go on. I'm so helpless. I don't know what to do. And all we have to gain again is surrender and ask, because as they say, the teacher will come when you're ready to receive. But I think the first thing is to acknowledge that I feel hopeless, I feel helpless. Why do I feel this way? I need to get to the root of the problem so that I can surrender and get to the other side.
Well, and surrender only happens actually when we finally engage what's going on.
Yeah.
We can't skip from what's going on to processing and learning to surrender. It's impossible.
No.
We have to walk every mile, every inch, every precipice. To get to know what is it that's in me that is either similar or has been affected by that energy. And so there has been, you know, so much oppression in the human history through religions, through powers that be. You know, it's like it is
control. Yeah.
It's an aspect of the duality that we are here experiencing. There's no life without duality. We will never have a life without the friction of duality.
Yeah, not as a human. No, you know, we can be humanoids or we can be human beings, and when we bring the being into it, you know, that's when we bring that whole divine presence in, where we connect and we realize the beingness in us. But if we're just living from the human aspect without the beingness, we're going to be lost, because we're meant to have the two, the duality together.
Exactly. The thing is that people often, and I was one of these people, so I can say this very honestly and truly, oftentimes we escape to spirituality and motivation to not meet our true self, to not meet what's in the basement. Right? So that's a really important point too. We can also, I mean, I am spiritual. I call in God, angels, love, all of this stuff. But I'm also here in this human body. And I recognize that as long as I'm alive, there is duality, and there will be paradox. There will be things that are hard to navigate. But when I connect to that eternal now, then I am in that flow of Akua, God, spirit, however way we name that beautiful intelligence of love that is here to support us.
And support the two sides of us, the human and the spiritual side of us, right, merging into one.
That's how we need to marry them, not to choose one over the other, which is what happens for a lot of people. We need to integrate the two. It's so important, because we are here in a human body for a reason. I don't know why. I can have my own ideas. Okay, we need to evolve. I'm not even looking at the answer of why.
Right.
I don't even care for the answer of why. It's not important. What matters is I can see certain patterns of universal laws and how they work in nature. And when I connect to those, I can apply them to my life too. And that helps me navigate. So when troubles and challenges do arise, I have a possibility to ride that wave. Storm into that tornado.
Right.
So that, but it's by my sovereign soul authority that I'm choosing to do this.
Yes.
And because I'm choosing to do this, that means if I'm choosing, I'm in the now. That means, okay, I'm looking, I'm ready. And that's when our growth happens. When we're in that moment of trauma or a trigger or a reaction, be it in our only mind or in a situation, the moment that we take deep, I work with a lot of breath work. The Hawaiian work is a lot of breath. I'm also a heart math coach too. So I integrate the Hawaiian breath and the heart math breath. And it brings really amazing results. And so the breath is the key to bringing us to now.
Yeah, to open it up. Yes.
And I tell my clients, it's free. You don't need to pay for it.
Right, exactly.
And it's one of the best therapies and the best medicines. Yes, we might need to pay to learn or go to a teacher to learn these things. But once you learn, you've got the tool. And then it's just up to you.
Yeah, exactly. How you use it. I mean, we do as human beings need to rise up, to elevate to a higher vibration. The planet needs it. We need it. But I also think that the more that we immerse ourselves in that channel of now, the more we actually understand, I think, why we are here and the gift of what the human body is. You know, when you just look at the simple things of touch and taste and hold, and you know, and embrace and walking the earth, you know, feeling the water, feeling the earth itself and the whole beautiful vibration, we understand the gift of the body. And there's so many things that we can do. And when we are a spiritual being doing this experience, everything is heightened into such a beautiful level of comprehension that you don't need to articulate. You know, you don't need to verify, you know, it just simply is. You are there at that moment being this person. And it's a sense of peace and tranquility about it, in an understanding that doesn't need to be spoken. But as you said, it's a journey to get there. You know, I had a battle with really not like being a human or being around humans, because I was very much a cosmic being, and it took me a long time for, you know, to emerge myself as one. I had to deal with the pain and the trauma, and look at it for what it was, and to realize the Velcro, you know, that I was attracting it because on the human side of it, I didn't feel worthy. And, you know, my spiritual side of it was like, what are you talking about? And we just couldn't communicate for a long time until I could get into that now, into that channeling and understand the oneness of it. But we do have to be willing, first and foremost, to take responsibility. Stop blaming yourself. Stop persecuting yourself. You know, that forgiveness is a huge component of it, isn't it? Because whatever we've done in the past, we've done with the knowledge that we had in the moment, or we've done it in a pattern that's been instilled in us. Don't beat yourself up when you come face to face with that trauma or things that you've done. Don't start beating yourself up, because that's not going to get you anywhere. Simply embrace that side of you, that trauma, that person that did that, because that's what you knew then. And that forgiveness and that love will heal and allow you to let go. But I think one of the hard things we have as human beings is that forgiving, because we're so judgmental. We're taught to be so judgmental and unforgiving, that the actual turning around and forgiving of self, I think, is one of the hardest things for people to do.
Absolutely. And just I'd like to just go back to a comment where you said about we need to raise our vibration. I would actually like to say we already are a high frequency.
Yes, we haven't tuned into it yet.
We already are. It's there. But what healing and journeying is healing releasing the frequencies of trauma and the stories and the narratives and the beliefs and the judgments. Because all of that stuff comes from trauma. It comes from feeling separate from life.
Right.
And it comes from feeling unsafe. So even if you find yourself feeling judgmental, have compassion for that. Say, okay, I feel judgmental, but don't try to pretend that you don't, so to speak, right? Just in general. Sometimes we do that, you know, we want to be the spiritual people that we are, and we don't want to admit that we're having these moments of anger, frustration, jealousy, envy. We all have it. It's not like that goes away, because it is a part of our humanity. But again, if I look at those things as a feedback system to help me get inward within myself and see, why do I feel that envy there? Where did I feel not seen? Where do I not feel good enough? Right? Where's my anger coming from? Because anger is a secondary emotion. Yeah. So sadness and grief is at the root. So one of the things I've done in my life is I drum, and I teach how to make drums as well. And so I would, you know, when I'd have anger, I'd go either in nature or in my studio, and I'd say, okay, you know, God, Spirit, help this anger to come out of me so that I can touch the sadness. And so I would beat the drum and I would sing, I would like do vocables. And then always a time comes where suddenly that anger, the wall of the anger
Mm-hmm.
breaks, and I break down into deep sobs.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that emotion was behind that anger finally gets to be released. And then once that release is there, the nervous system can re-climatize itself. The trauma has been moved, the charge has been moved, which then makes it possible to go the next step, to go towards that compassion and acceptance
Mm-hmm.
and healing. But I can't get there until I immerse myself in whatever that feeling or emotion is. It's like a fact. You can't move on from any situation without acknowledging the fact of it first.
Right.
If we have our rose-colored glasses on,
Yeah. La la
you
la
know,
la 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 la. Yeah. Yeah. No, it doesn't work. Yeah.
we'll never be as effective and
No.
empowered as we can be. But again, that's scary, and that's why I think, you know, I've done so many, you know, self-development courses and healing courses and things like that. Been a part of many different spiritual groups, and aside from Hawaii, I found in every single one, bless them all and the goodness that's there too, but this element of trauma
Mm-hmm.
and understanding trauma is not addressed.
Right. Right.
And so for me, that's really, really important, you know, because we can practice all the law of attraction,
Mm-hmm.
all the techniques that our gurus and coaches give us, but then we end up burning out and crashing with all that effort and never really getting there, because our subconscious hard drive is constantly sabotaging and counteracting on those things, because we're not yet healed and whole. Right. And so for anybody who is suffering from that right now, even on the call, feels like, you know, every effort I put, nothing comes out of it, I would invite, take a look inside and see what traumas are there, what pain is there that needs to be released, what wisdom is needed to help navigate, right? And then to be patient and loving and say, this happens because somewhere there's something in me that isn't in agreement with my evolution. And I can say this again because that's me, you know, and I witness it in my clients too. You know, I don't separate myself from that process, right? It's important to recognize that, you know, we can grow through everything. And if I'm not getting where I want to be, then that means I need to look somewhere else to get the tools that I need, because the tools that I have right now are not doing it, right? Or they're keeping, so that I can get inside myself and rewire basically my brain and my nervous system. So I help people to rewire their brain. I study brain sciences as well, and neuroplasty and epigenetics and, you know, everything. So I bring in a synthesis of the earth and the spirit, because I find that's very, very important. And when I give clients some of the biology understanding of what's happening with trauma as well, and how the brain actually can rewire itself, they're like, wow. And that's how I was when I discovered it. Like, wow. You know, like I discovered many, many years ago that 1/3 of a second of every single second, our brain is open and willing for a new command.
Yeah. Yes.
And I was like, wow. And I went, okay, I'm going to harness every darn 1/3 of a second I can.
Yes. Yes.
You know? And that's the work, right? So sometimes people, they give up on their healing and their process because they feel they're being, you know, ineffective because it doesn't happen fast. But the thing is, everything, all of our little mini steps, they compound into the big changes and transformations. Right?
Well,
So
you know, the old programming, you know, and everything that happened to us, it didn't all happen at once and that's it, and you go in and press a delete button. There are a series of things and patterns that we constantly repeated. And so, you know, okay, you've got that 1/3 of a second to go in there, but you're going to have to continually keep reaffirming until the programming switches over to the new dialogue, to the new verbiage. What do you say to people? You know, there's this human experience that we have in this lifetime, but we also have the DNA trauma, you know, from our lineage, but also past lives. And very often we, you know, people do not recognize that. But, you know, I don't know why I feel so traumatized about that. I don't recall it ever happening to me. And it's harder for them to deal with because it's not a particular memory of theirs.
So somewhere I like to say, don't be attached to the story of where or why. Just look at what is.
Right.
Because we can write stories until the cows come home. And I do agree our soul is older than this lifetime.
Yes.
Right? I do. For me, since I was a kid, that's an automatic.
Yeah.
But if I get too distracted with trying to find the definition in the story,
right,
that's not really helping me change my present.
mm-hmm.
Right? So even if I just acknowledge, I don't know where, how this trauma is there, but I acknowledge it's there. And now, what steps can I take to help it to heal?
Right.
And what I found is that when my clients do that, sometimes down the road, a memory comes back.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Or they have a vivid dream of an ancestor or something like that. So what I say is, don't be attached to the story right now. Don't be attached to figuring out where it happened.
Right.
But just acknowledge it is there. And what are my actions that I can take so I can heal my nervous system? And then through that healing, I'm actually more open and receptive to that higher awareness and insight that is in me, because all the answers are already there.
Yes, yes, exactly.
We have, like the seed of the apple tree has everything in it, we have everything in us. It's just, again, unpacking the layers, that block us from that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why healing is a process. That's why we can't just go in and boom, it's done. Because each trauma impacts us on many different layers of our identity and who we are in the world.
Yeah.
And so to heal means we need to learn how to implement what helped us in one area into all these other areas.
Yes.
And for that, the only time we can heal is in the moment, when we're in the fire, when we're in the furnace, when we remember, oh, here's the bucket of water here, or whatever. So that's why traumas and triggers are actually a gift, because until we're activated, we don't have an entry point in. We just have our mind and our reasoning and our thoughts and our stories. But it's in the moment of a trigger that I have access to affect that wound. That's when I have a moment of access to direct however I do healing, or direct my mind. There's many ways that people do their own healing work as well, right? So calling your angels, clear, however way, tapping. Yes. There's many different methods that people use. For me, nature was my biggest teacher, right? And so I would go out and be barefoot whenever I would have a trigger trauma, and I would breathe. That's one of my techniques, right? And so to allow the space to feel that, and then go through that layer, and then don't expect that because I went through that layer that all the layers are done.
Right.
That's where we trip up.
Yes.
That's
I'm healed now. Yeah, no.
Yeah. And that's where I used to trip up so much. I'd have this great healing and insight, and I'm like, oh, yay, I got it, I'm connected. And then 2-3 days later, something would happen, and I'd be like, what happened?
Yeah.
Where did it go? Right? And then that was in my late 20s and early 30s when I started discovering, oh, it's also true that where the light comes in, the shadow is revealed.
Yes. Yes.
So we have to understand that for every layer of healing we experience, we can anticipate a counterwave coming in, because it's creating space for something else to come up.
Yeah, the shadow wave. I mean, it's the other cellulars now rise to the top in memory, right?
Exactly, because the soul's like, okay, we got that one done. Now let's get this one done.
Me,
right? So,
tend to me too.
Exactly, right? And so when we start to view our healing process in that way, and there's a joy to it, right? Yeah. For the most part, and I used to be like, oh my God, so much work and heavy. And it's like, no, it can be an extraordinary adventure.
Get into rhythm with it. Yeah.
Consciousness alchemy is that practice.
Yes.
And when I was trying to think of, well, I do, and I offer so much, I was trying to think, well, how do I define what I do? And then the term came to me, like consciousness alchemy. That's the work, right? And it's in those trigger moments when we apply what we know, even if it's only for 1/3 of a second. Yeah. Already we've created a new trajectory. Yes. Right? So to not be attached that we have to have these big, powerful healings. Really, those big, powerful healings, they only happen with many micro steps that lead to them.
We
101. right?
We talk about, that third of a second where you can get in with the dialogue, and we don't realize our dialogue with ourselves is you know, um, a good or bad vibration, and that very often
Yeah.
we,
And our body listens.
it totally listens, and that the words that we use, the tone in which we use it in, and the intent behind it, it's really be kind to yourself. If you were talking to someone that was in pain, are you going to go on attack and say, you stupid idiot, what do you think you're doing? Is that going to be healing? No. So why do we say that to ourselves? Because we seem to have this thing about beating ourselves up, for something. And instead of it and go, oh, you poor thing, here's the love. I'm healing this. I'm letting this pain go. You are so much more than this. So step into your light. We don't talk that way to ourselves. And I don't know why. I think it's also part of that patterning of who do you think you are, placing yourself first. But everything says to us, place ourselves first, because what good are we to anyone else if we're operating from a state of brokenness?
Yeah. So if you understand that the sense of belonging is one of our primal needs,
yeah,
the sense of safety,
yeah,
sense of safety,
yes,
and housing and that, but belonging and safety. So the answer to why we end up developing that inner voice is because we're afraid we won't belong,
yeah,
and be accepted if we make an error. And then that means maybe we won't be safe.
right.
People might get angry at us, right? So it's important to understand, where is that inner negative dialogue coming from? And then once I understand that, then I can be the mother that I didn't have.
Yes. Yeah.
Talk to me that way. Then I can be the one who then talks to my child self, because that's what in Hawaiian teachings, this child self is the subconscious.
Yeah.
Right? And then the adult self and the aumakua. And so the child self, is in the cowering in the corner. And the thing is our adult self has been angry at it for so long without knowing why.
Right.
Because we have this stuff. So then we have to be the one to say, hey, little one, come here.
Yeah. It's safe.
You're okay.
Yeah.
You're okay. And even if somebody rejects you, even if you make a mistake, it doesn't remove your worth.
That is, I think, a huge lesson for everyone to learn, is that, everybody has a perception or attracted to certain vibe. And if somebody's not attracted to your vibe, it's not a rejection of you. It's just that you're not in tune with them. You're not playing in the same orchestra, right? Don't take it personally.
But even if it is a direct rejection of you, it's okay.
Yes.
So one of the things that in Hawaiian teachings that really empowered me is claiming my own sovereign authority over me, but also granting other people their authority and sovereignty over them, which means they have total permission to believe whatever they want to believe and think whatever they want to think about me.
Yes.
It took years to get to that one, man. I suffered from so much rejection,
right.
And I was like, why don't people like me, or why, many times. And then that came to me, and I realized, yes, that's right. So we are all the writers of our own stories.
Right.
So their story about me is really about them.
Yeah. Reflections.
Or about somebody that maybe I remind them of.
Yep.
Or I trigger them for some reason.
Yes.
And so now I'm at the point where I say, okay, good, trigger them. Awesome. That means there's a potential for growth.
Right. Exactly.
If they take it or not, it's not up to me. But life has provided that trigger.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you turn it around in that way. So even that experience, you can let go gradually by repeating to ourselves and taking care of ourselves. No, you are enough. And even with mistakes, even with misgivings, even if you did this way back then and you regret it, you're still enough.
Yeah.
Nobody is never not enough.
No. It's who you are in the now, right? Not who you were yesterday. It's who you are in the now.
Yeah, and even if in the now I'm being a bitch. Oops. Okay. How do I shift it?
Yes.
Right?
Recognizing it. Recognizing it. Where's the frustration coming from? What am I feeling? What have I let in? Right? And
Yeah.
how am I going to deal with this? Well, beating yourself up isn't going to do anything about it. It's like,
And even with that,
yeah,
yeah.
go find the something
And even,
that soothes you.
yeah. And even with that, then I can still say I'm still enough, even though in
Yeah,
this moment I wasn't able to regulate my emotions.
right,
And why wasn't I able to regulate my emotions? Oh, something triggered a pain in me.
right.
And so then again, to understand that all of these reactions we have with in our world and we see around us, at the root of them is trauma.
Yeah, yeah,
Nobody starts out being mean to people. We all start out with love.
right.
We want to give love and we want to receive love. But along the way, interruptions happen to block it,
Hmm.
right? And to make us feel like life isn't safe and that people aren't safe, maybe,
And that love
right?
isn't safe. To
And that
love
love isn't
means
safe.
you're going to get hurt. How many people, I was hurt and I will never love again. Or I'm not going to give
Yeah.
my love, my vulnerability because I don't trust that they won't hurt me. So what happens
But
is
the
the
thing
people
is,
will hurt you because that's your Velcro.
yeah. And the thing is that really, I'm robbing myself of my own
Yes,
vulnerability, my own
yes,
love.
yeah.
You know, there was a breakup that happened for me many years ago, and I was so devastated. But I noticed my pain was a lot greater than what
Yeah.
really it should be. And I looked within, and then I accessed the deep memory because my mother left when I was 7, and then she
Mm.
moved to Europe, so I didn't have a mother growing up. And then she had some ways about her that were very not okay.
Mhm, mhm.
um, and so which felt diminishing towards me, and so that's where my feeling of not enough came from, and I'm not lovable, right? And so when you connect to that and you see, okay, there's my wound, you understand where did that come from in that trigger, that wound that everybody has,
Right.
right? And then you have that compassion for yourself,
Yes.
right? And you start being kind to yourself, because even my mom, she had her
Right.
traumas,
She couldn't cope with
right?
them, so she ran
and
from them.
and,
Yeah.
and her
Mhm,
traumas led her to be, and now I have a beautiful relationship with her,
mhm,
but it took a lot of years of healing,
mhm.
right? And so in this relationship, when that wound came up, I went, wow. So that relationship was the perfect trigger to bring up that ancient wound. And I wailed. I
Mhm.
was alone in my cabin, and I touched into that pain and I wailed like a baby. And all of that pain was able to come out. And then once it was out, I no longer felt the same
Mm.
loss.
Yeah.
And also, I recognized, my question was to myself after that healing, which I don't think this could have come before the healing.
Mhm,
So, what is it that I miss about being with this person?
mhm,
And I realized I miss how I felt I was with that
mhm.
person. And then I realized, well, I'm still here.
Yes.
So I can still create that feeling. That person brought out a part of me that I loved.
Mhm,
And just
mhm.
because they left me doesn't mean I have to stop living that energy.
Right. Right.
So that's what I mean. If we say I'm not going to love anymore, we're robbing ourselves.
Yes. You know that I
We're
think
robbing
that
ourselves.
the other thing is people who hold so tightly onto control. You know
It's
that
trauma.
yeah,
It's,
exactly. The
it's trauma.
fear that they can't trust you to be there on your own volition, the
Mhm.
fear that you will go against them, the fear that you will leave them, and
Mhm.
uh, and that is, you know, they don't realize that that control is the very thing that's pushing people away. And you know, it's somebody being in your arena and being with you through free will, through choice,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
um, is a most beautiful, loving vibration. It is a place to be because you are both wanting to be there for no other reason than you want to be with each other, you complement each other. But when people demand that you be this, so you change that, or, you know, can I get a cup of coffee? Can I get gas in the car? I had one of those. In fact, actually, when leaving a relationship, I asked for the separation, and the comment was, that bloody pendulum woman took the control I had over you away from me.
Yeah.
And that summed up, you know, the marriage, the control. And I
Yeah,
no
yeah,
longer wish to be in control, or have
yeah.
somebody in control over me, that I had taken my control back for myself. And that was the thing that he feared the most, right? So um, we also have to make sure that we don't take on other people's fears and make them our own, because that can happen, and then you're even more confused and you're carrying around even more trauma, or you're trying to fix someone, right, where it's not for us to fix them, it's for us to nurture them so they can help themselves. But we
Really?
and and
Yeah.
ends up backfiring on you. So first and foremost, oxygenate yourself, be true to
Mhm.
who you are, and do the work that you need to do in order for you to be as whole as you can be on your journey of life. And stop living for someone else, because when you are enough for you, you will be enough for the other people around you and for the people that you will attract, your other Velcros.
Yeah. And what I'd like to add to that too is that you know, when we're trying to fix somebody else or change
Mhm.
somebody else, actually it's an indication that we're trying to fix
Mm,
ourselves, but we're not doing it directly.
right. And we think
That's a
fixing them is going to fix them. Yes. Yeah.
so there's a layer of that
Yeah.
awareness to have too,
Mm,
right? So, you know, or, you know, I'm helping these people to succeed, but I'm not doing my own part to make me succeed.
no.
What is that?
Right.
Right. And so it's actually, there's a, you know, there's a mirroring in that
Mhm.
situation too. And it's really, it's again a feedback. I look at
Yeah.
everything as a feedback
Yes.
system.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
again, no judgment, right or wrong, good or bad.
Right.
The universe is a feedback system, within and
Yes.
without.
With that
And
reflection,
so
you see things more clearly. So now you can make a better choice. You can decide, you don't
exactly.
want to feel like that. So what am I going to do about it? Right?
And what, so I don't want to feel that way, but I do. So I have to acknowledge the fact I do, and then I have to say to myself, or I mean, I have the option. I could just stay in my patterns, and that's fine
Mm,
too, you know. But I have the option to choose. Okay, this is how I feel. So what can I do? What can I give myself, or what attention do I need to give to myself, or what do I need? And journaling is fabulous.
yes.
I've journaled my whole life.
Mm,
And so that's a great place to just start writing,
mm,
because then it takes what's inside and it puts it out, and you get so much more clarity,
yeah.
right? So in those moments, just to take that time, and yeah, I don't want to feel this anymore, but I also can't pretend I don't feel it. I can't exile
Mm,
it, because it'll just come back even stronger in
mm,
some unexpected moment, you know, because those things that we bury, they're like a pressure cooker pot and they're cooking
yeah.
under the surface,
Yeah.
right? And then in a moment we don't even know, we lose control. The lid fell.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Taking the roof with
And
it.
so,
Yes.
yeah, and so, you know, it's really important to get to know our subconscious. You know, like if I were to give a metaphor, so you know, this is our subconscious, and this is its control. 95%, science has said, it's controlling our choices.
Mm,
This is our consciousness,
mm-hmm.
right? It's controlling the consciousness. So for me, the healing journey is becoming aware of the subconscious,
Yes. And
so
shrinking
that
the
my
other.
consciousness can now
Yeah.
direct and navigate when the subconscious comes in, because I have the knowledge to do that.
I
And so
often,
that's what is the healing journey, is is
mhm.
is, is learning and doing that. And it's step by step, moment by moment.
I often refer to it, rather like, being pregnant with self. We go through our trimester, and they can be rocky. You can really feel sick, you can feel down, you can feel all sorts of emotions, and you're going to have to give birth to yourself, and labor
Yeah, yeah,
is painful. But
yeah,
afterwards, that new you,
yeah,
right? That new
exactly.
you is just like, you are the person I've been waiting for. I didn't know
Yeah,
you were
yeah,
inside of me all the time. So we have to
yeah,
be willing to go through some of the pain in order
yeah.
to have the gift of ourselves at the end of it.
Yeah, we have to let go of who we think we are in
Yeah.
order to be who we can be,
Yes.
really,
And that is, a
right?
lot
And
of
that,
it is the societal thing, isn't it, too? The societal expectation of who you should be, where you should be in life, what you should be doing, your economics, your religion, your this, your that, and everything. Let go of that. all of it. Let go of that. Follow your consciousness, and it'll be the guide to who you should be, what you should be doing. Your entire why is in that consciousness. So let your consciousness rise up.
Absolutely. And so, it's really, again, I'll use the Hawaiian because I work with the Hawaiian principles in my work, the sovereignty, claiming our sovereign authority over ourselves, and our sovereign relationship to God, spirit, nature, however way we define it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And then
God,
again, we
universe,
can let
spirit. Yeah.
society, yeah, and then we can, and the more that I heal my traumas, the more sovereignty I naturally gain.
Yes.
Which then makes the imprint of society and others, though they might still be poking and yelling and screaming, it then no longer has the same impact that it once used to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then sometimes there's a magic, and sometimes somebody says, "Oh, what are you doing?" Right? Sometimes our evolution can also inspire somebody else's, even the person who was our adversary. That can happen, right?
Yeah, why are you
But
so calm in this storm? What is this? What are you doing? There's a tornado going on around you, but there was a monk that I had on that actually takes people, not during COVID, during normal times, takes people into Times Square to meditate amongst the chaos. It's not meditating in the silence, right? It's how to be still and at one in the now amongst the chaos around you. That's kind of, as you say, going into the eye of the tornado.
Yes, and what good is meditation if I can only do it in quiet?
Exactly, because how often do you get that beautiful, peaceful silence?
Yeah, and there was a time too where and I still do work with crystals and pendulum and things like that, but there was a time where I was so dependent on them.
Yeah. Yes.
And then one day I woke up to the fact, man, no, what happens if I don't have my amethyst, or what happens if I don't have my whatever? And I realized, and I was studying with a shaman from Peru at that time too, and I realized that, wow, I need to have my power in me, not attached to an outer object,
right,
or a person.
Yes.
Right. So then I went, okay, I have to start strengthening me and healing me. Right. And so that is the journey, because for me, I don't want to be dependent on any individual or any object for my safety.
You're out there kind of naked in the world, and everything that you need lies within you. All of these other things have been instruments that have helped you in your discovery to open you up, ignite the heart, the spirit, and the soul. But once it's ignited, it's on. The generator is working. Keep the generator going, and it'll exude out of you. Yeah,
exactly. It's flicking the switch, right? And so, and when I say I don't want to be dependent, I don't mean that I don't want to need other people. Yes, we are people who need, but I don't want to put the dependency of my healing and my well-being and say, well, because that person rejected me, now I'm sad, or because that's not with me, I can't be strong. So that's what I mean by dependence, because we are an interdependent people. We need community, we need each other, right? But being dependent in a way that is robbing me of my sovereignty, and also robbing the other person of their sovereignty.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just me. Then I'm putting, psychic expectations and ties that is actually harming them.
And that's why you can't take people on your journey. This is your journey. It's not somebody else's journey with you. If you inspire them, and that becomes an invitation for them to take their own journey, great. But this is your journey for you. It's not for you to try and drag somebody along. But I'm doing it, you've got to do it with me. No. We each come to that crossroads, that decision at the point when, either the cosmic 2x4 or the tap on the shoulder, where it's like, this is the now. And what are you going to do to heal the past and not let it be a dictator for your future? But stop trying to drag people along with you. It's your own personal journey. And once you and your aura become one and become that radiant frequency out there, you will become that inspiration for other people. They will want to know what it is you're doing, because they want to feel that way too.
Yeah. And we can journey with each other.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of not projecting.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of projecting the assumptions
Yeah.
and the expectations. That's
Yeah.
the thing. We can journey. We need to journey together.
Yeah.
It's not about being a lone wolf, but it's about me being sovereign within my own self, so that I have the authority over my emotions and my choices.
That's your personal journey. Yes.
And that's my journey. And then, you know, like for me now, I share what I've learned.
Right. Exactly.
Right? But I say to everybody I work with, I don't have your answers, but these are tools that can help you get to your answers that are already in you.
That's the
And
thing. That's what a true teacher and a true guardian does. You share the skills and the tools that you learned that got you to where you are. You've already inspired people by who you are. Now they want to know how you did it. You can hand them the instruments. You can hand them the wisdom and the tools. How they apply them is up to them, right? It's up to them and how they use them.
Yeah, and giving them the empathy and the love and the witnessing, because we all need to be witnessed in our journey too.
Yeah.
Right? Lovingly witnessed as we grow through things.
The support and even the cheerleading, you know, it's, you know, when we have a milestone, it's like we want someone, you don't know how big this is for me. You know, you want somebody there that, you know, I see you, I hear you, you know, and I, you know, I see you is a big one, isn't it? We want to be seen for who we are now in our light, but it doesn't mean that we have to, you know, have a neon light to be seen. You can just have a wonderful glow about you.
We don't need to be celebrities. That's not about, it's just about radiating the authentic self.
Yeah.
Right? Coming back to the true self that has been buried under trauma and, you know, coping mechanisms and beliefs and narratives that, you know, actually we create those to try to protect our true self.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
But the thing,
the defense turns against us.
The thing with that is that when we shut other people out for that reason, we also shut the love out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's, again, we circle to vulnerability, right? Vulnerability is actually a great strength, to be able to sit in the moment of now and acknowledge my vulnerability. And also vulnerability is also not just, okay, I'm vulnerable to somebody, but it's also making me open to receive life and insights. So I had my teacher in Hawaii. We were in circle once, and I had the courage at that time. I said, okay, I have to ask something. You know, I said, you know, I've been doing my healing work for, at that time, I guess it was 17 or 18 years. And I said, but each time I go to start one session, I feel like I don't know anything. I feel vulnerable, right? And I always interpreted that was something wrong.
Right.
Bad.
Instead of wonderment.
And he told me, he said, no, he says, that's perfect. That's where you need to be to meet the person authentically who you're working with.
Right.
Because it is unknown. You've never worked with them before.
Right.
You have no idea what is coming forward. So it's perfect. Don't change it. And I went, oh. And then this judgmental voice in me that was like, you know, saying, oh, I don't have enough confidence. Why don't I have enough confidence? You know, and I was like, you know, all these voices that had turned something that was actually good into a negative.
Yeah.
Right.
As I said, we can talk ourselves out of things very easily if we allow ourselves to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so understanding that, you know, even just that micro shift, it liberated me when he said that. And then suddenly I felt confident, but not confidence like I thought I needed to feel confidence, right? It's
well, I call it a core confidence. You know, it's when your core really feels something. You know, I mean, obviously doing what I'm doing, I get people, you know, asking me all the time to kind of, you know, partner with them or do this or take this. And you know, for me is if the core says, no, I trust the core, it's not for me. Doesn't mean it's wrong for someone else. It's just not for me. And then there'll be something else that will resonate and the core will open up and say, I'm ready to receive that information. And, you know, the thing is, go into things with a blank slate. Go in wonderment of that something you've never felt or never seen and never heard before. Don't go there with preconceived ideas, because now you're going to contaminate what it is you're to learn.
And that's the manava. That's the eternal presence.
Yeah.
Again, we circle right back to that.
Yeah.
Right? When I can be in pure presence, where I'm meeting the moment without all my labels, without all my stories, but just with pure awareness of presence, then that's when my actions are going to match the reality that is present as well to help me move forward. But if I'm in that moment and I've got all my filters from the past, right? Then I
Yes.
can only see your nose right now, right? And I'm reacting to your nose. Right? And
And
so
let
the
everything
moment
else reveal. Yeah.
yeah, and so the moment I'm reacting to your nose, I'm no longer in that presence of
Right.
now. And
Right.
so for me, my healing journey, and what I understand for me, I think it is in a general way, our healing journey
Mm.
is to get to a point that we are in our presence, right? So we are in our real self, grounded. And from that place of presence, I have the capacity to perceive.
Mm-hmm. Well,
But as long as I'm in frenetic stuff of my past or future,
yeah.
I cannot see, and to acknowledge that. And again, it's not about being perfect.
No.
It's a matter of being engaged in the process.
And
And
the imperfections are kind of what makes you unique, right? Because not everybody has the same imperfections, and it's like this: the more we strive
yeah,
for perfection, the more we're going to let ourselves down.
and
Now,
there is the only perfection is being present
right?
for what.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
if in this moment I'm angry, let me be present for my anger.
Yeah.
If in this moment I'm scared, let me be present for my feeling scared. In this
Yeah.
moment feeling happy, let me be fully present in that
Yeah.
happiness and
Yeah.
joy.
Do not deny it. Go through it. It's there for a reason. Acknowledge it.
Live
Go
it.
through it. Yeah.
Live
Exactly.
it and learn from it.
Yeah.
Live it and learn from it the
Yeah.
best we
Because it's
can.
there for a reason. It's there to teach you something. Denying
Yeah.
it, it just means it's going to come back even stronger later. Now, you've written
Yeah.
a book called Grace and the Art
Yeah.
of Showing Up, the spiritual journey of
Resilience.
empowerment against all odds.
Yes. Resilience, grace, and the art of
Oh,
showing up.
sorry, haven't got glasses on.
Yeah. Resilience, grace, and the art of showing up. Yeah.
Resilience is something that's a little bit like persistence in a lot of ways, right? If you don't have resilience and persistence, you're really not going to get anywhere. If you're wanting something more than your trauma and living in your past, and you want to embrace the now and what is possible for you for the future, then you need to have that resilience and also that persistence, because you're not going to get the answers every moment. But I think the word grace, I wish people had more grace and lived more in grace, because that is not only respectful of self, of spirit, but it's respectful of each other.
Mm. So, and I hear you. And the way that I'm using grace in the title is so the resilience, because I used to share my story with people, and for years people were saying, "Oh, you got to write a book,"
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm like, okay. And then when finally the momentum came, I'm like, well, what do I call it, or what is and what is it that helped me get through all the stuff that I went through? And then watching nature, seeing the resilience of nature, inspired me my whole life. Right? How a single blade of grass can push
Mm,
itself through
yeah,
cement.
yeah.
And it's longing, and we all have
Mm,
that inner, directive to
yeah.
grow. It exists, even if it's been
Reach
squashed
for
and
the
buried.
light.
It exists, right? So nature gave me the reflections of resilience that helped me get through a
Mm,
lot. Okay, showing up. It means, there are moments where, like one of my albums, the CDs that I made, right? That's not the one that's being a giveaway here. The one that's being given away here is a new release. It hasn't even been released on the market yet.
wonderful.
So it's crystal bowl healing. But
Mm,
my first CD, the day that I was supposed to go in to record it, I had a trauma trigger.
mm,
And I was about to call the producer because he had invited me to play on one of his CDs. And so I called the producer. I was about to call the producer and tell him I can't do it. And then an inner voice said to me, Luannah, either you're going to show up
mm-hmm.
and see what happens, or you're just going to stay letting your trauma control your life.
Right. Yep.
And so then I dried my tears. I
Mm-hmm.
did my breath and I went, okay. I called, I'm running late. I'll be right there. And so I ended up doing the recording with him and some other artists for his CD, but then he offered me free studio time. And that's how I
Mm-hmm.
made my first CD,
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, if I would have
Yeah.
allowed that trauma to hold me in that moment,
The doubt.
right?
Mm-hmm.
If I would have not used the tools that I had at that time to pull myself out against that gravity that
Yeah.
wanted me to stay suffering and sad
Yeah.
and all that, right? Then that CD wouldn't have been made. And then that CD was really popular, and people were calling me about these spontaneous healings and all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, wow, you
Yes.
know, I had no idea. So, and I think a part of that is that action, that moment when the alchemist moment, where we're
Yeah.
working it, shift it. My sense is that that creates a powerful frequency in the world
Mm-hmm.
with
Mm-hmm.
ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Because it's the hardest thing to do. We're
Yeah.
going against the gravity, right?
Yes.
And so showing up, you know, okay, so I showed up to every opportunity, even when I was afraid,
Right.
even when I didn't think I was enough, even when I thought, oh my God, I have no idea.
I think it's
So
also the
resilience,
best time to show up, actually.
of course, but most of the time we feel buried and we
Yeah.
don't, right? When we have trauma. And so then the grace for me is the divine grace.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the grace that comes and graced me when I would show up.
Right.
Right? So in the Hawaiian teachings with the lineage I was initiated into, there's a term called thundering grace, and it's the inalienable right of every human being to receive grace.
Mm-hmm.
And a part of that is grace receiving gratitude.
Yeah.
Understanding gratitude is a catalyst for grace. So it's like the 8.
Yes.
It is
Yes.
gratitude, right? And whenever we step up into an opportunity that is a gratitude, and then grace comes. Because I've gone through so many things, and no matter how hard the hit or the trauma, every time I showed up to try to learn or grow or whatever, grace would come and bless me with something I could never even have
Right.
imagined, a personal contact, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
it's understanding that relationship between resilience, grace, and the art of showing up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are the 3 things that I could actually name that helped me get
Yeah.
through. And the grace, that's divine, you know, it's in us, it's in everyone, it's everywhere.
Yes. Yes.
But to activate it, to activate that, I always say we have to do our part, and then the universe responds to that part that we do.
Exactly,
Right?
exactly. Again,
And
you're going back to your Velcro. The universe will stick with you, if you rise up into that grace. And but gratitude is a huge one, because even being grateful for the traumas, being grateful for the fear of, I don't know, I'm in a traumatic moment. Can I go out there and put myself on the line and do this music? Are they going to see the trauma in me and the doubt and the fear and off it goes, right? But, having the gratitude, rising up and going, but look at the opportunity. What if you don't?
yes. Yeah.
And had you
Yeah.
not, where would you be? You wouldn't have had that CD. You wouldn't have been there. You wouldn't have had, and people would have been denied the gift that you were given to share.
Yeah, and I performed weekly at this benefit for children of war for 3 years.
Wow.
You
Yeah.
know, and other, Rumi performances and church performances and things like that. And everywhere I went, everybody just loves the flute and how I play
Yes.
it, and I'm still in awe of that.
Well, the flute is such a
Because
beautiful
I never.
soul instrument, isn't it? It really does speak to the soul.
Well, I never learned music.
So it just comes
I
from,
I picked up, yeah, when I was going through some really tumultuous trauma, around that relationship I mentioned and overcoming. I picked up a flute, and because I was inspired, I heard the sound of the Native American cedar flute, and it moved my heart so deeply that I thought I have to play. And so I bought myself a little bamboo flute, $5, and I just started going into nature to play, and the flute became my prayer and my movement of the suffering in me that I couldn't move with words or anything or talking. It helped me to get that out, and it ended up being my response of healing from life. And so I did that for 9 years without anybody really hearing. I think maybe in the 8th year I let one friend hear me play. And then it wasn't until I moved here to BC from Germany. I lived in Europe for 10 and a half years before moving to BC. A Cree elder invited me into their community and started inviting me to play. And I was like, no. You don't say no, right?
Right.
You're asked,
No.
you do.
Yes, right? Exactly.
And so I did. And then again, the feedback that came from people, and it moved them like, wow. And so my art grew through
Mm.
playing for the people
You
until it
also do
ended up in the
bowls as
CD.
well, the crystal bowls.
Crystal singing bowls, yeah, and
Mm.
I play the Hawaiian nose flute too, so you play with your nose. It's
Oh,
really
I haven't
quite
seen that
beautiful.
one. That's
Yeah,
definitely different.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
something about music
And
that is so incredibly healing for me. You know, if I'm in that space where I need the spiritual support, it is through music. And it's been proven that the tonage of music, the frequency of music readjusts our psyche, readjusts us chemistry within us. So, you know what, it doesn't matter about the language, and it doesn't matter about the species. We all respond to music. And it is that core ignition again, isn't it? It's that comfort. Um, it is that peace. It is that inspiration, and it is just pure love.
and it's it's a universal language that
Yeah.
every heart understands,
Yes.
right?
Every living
And
being's
there's
heart understands. Yeah.
a uniting factor, right?
Yes.
And
Exactly.
another layer I'd like to go into the resilience,
Mm-hmm.
is that oftentimes we think resilience is just perseverance.
Mm-hmm.
But what I discovered is that resilience is about creativity as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
You know, and so the music, and I used to dance, I studied movement therapy for many years and practiced it. And so music and dance were the creative actions that my trauma brought me to do
Mm-hmm.
to activate resilience, right? So even trees, I've seen trees that grow over a fence,
Mm-hmm.
that's creative,
Yes.
right? There's creativity, how, or how the tree will bend like
Mm-hmm.
that or something because there was something, right? And so resilience isn't just about the effort to push through, it's about the creativity that can be activated in us
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the friction of the duality, the trauma, or whatever we're going through. There's that potential of creativity that can be born,
And people
right? So
think that people are creative have to be artists or scientists or this, that. No, there's
no,
there's
no,
creativity in every single one of us if we allow it to come out. And how many people like yourself, it's well, people are interested in listening to my flute. I was just doing this for
yeah,
me. And
yeah,
then look again of how it, has transcended and ascended people. And that's the thing, if we get out of our own doubt and just trust we're given a gift for a reason. And,
yeah.
if we stop looking for the perfection or comparison, I don't sound like this
Yes,
person, I'm
comparing
not
with
this,
others.
that.
Yeah,
That is a killer completely. If you were given the gift to do what you are doing, and even if one person is uplifted from it, then it's
absolutely.
done its job. Again, stop looking at the numbers, and it's whoever listens and what the effect it has on them is already a gift beyond, right?
Absolutely. I feel that so strongly, and I'm just grateful. And after every session I have, I come home to my husband like, oh my God, it was amazing. I
Yeah.
can't believe it. I just, oh, it's
Yeah,
like,
I feel this of the
I,
shows that I do. I come away and it's like, oh my God, that person was awesome, and this is what they're doing, and that what
yeah,
they're doing, and my whole energy is being completely uplifted, which is what I love. Kind of the energy
yeah. And,
junkie
and,
on
and I
what
learned
you're
with
doing.
everyone. I
Yeah.
learned with every client I work with
Yes.
too,
Yes.
because everybody's a different universe. And so I have to find my ways
Mm.
to communicate to that specific universe.
Yes.
And sometimes like ideas and metaphors come in that I've never used in my life
Right.
before, but there it comes through for that person. And
Right.
it's really a cool process. It's quite
Yes.
fun,
Yes, I call that the
and
knowingness,
that's,
knowing what you need to know when you need to know it, right? And in my own counseling practice, is where did you study? How did you know that? And I said, I have no idea how I know it. I just know what I need to know when I need to know it for you, and that is it. That's just trusting. I don't need to verify back the pedal. Very often, I don't even remember what I've said to you because it just was in
yeah,
the
yeah,
now,
that happens to
right?
me too.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. And stop
Yeah.
looking for verification and validation and pieces of paper to verify. God doesn't hand out certificates. It's you're given a gift. Embrace the gift in gratitude. Use it where you need to use it, because they will show you how. And then step back. You have no idea the effect that it's had on people. You may have seeded, you may have watered, or you may have see somebody completely grow before your eyes. But the whole point is you were given this gift to do that, and what they do with it is now their journey.
Absolutely. And that's how I work. You
Hmm.
know, I give everything I've got to
Yes.
empower, and then there they go.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not into keeping people hooked on to me. There's some people, they
No.
want me to keep coming back again and again, or, oh,
Yeah.
get this. And I want to give everything I got. And then if they still want to come back because they just want to,
That's a different
beautiful.
thing. Yes.
But not
Because they
the
need to.
necessity.
Yeah.
Oh, I need to
Yeah.
get this
Yeah.
now too, because. So I've never resonated with that way. You know,
No.
I like to give it, and
We don't want the
when
dependency, right? The dependency
no,
leads to
because then
you being, yeah,
yeah, I'm not serving them if I'm
right,
making them dependent on me.
exactly. Or
That's just,
dependent on
it's
anything. Like you used to be dependent
yes,
on the crystals and everything until you realize all those vibrations of everything are already inside of you, right?
yes,
You can
and I
touch the
still use
crystal within
crystals to
you.
this day.
Yes.
Yeah, I still
Yeah.
use them because they're great for tuning, but there's
Hmm.
not the dependency,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'm a runes
you're
person.
behind me.
And if I have a
Yeah.
question I can't answer or it's not coming to me, I'll ask the runes. And they very much deal in the now, what you need to know in the now. But very often I don't need to do that, because all I need to do is get out of my own way and step into my now. And the knowingness will
Yeah.
be, right? And then trust that
Yeah.
knowingness. Don't go all human analytical on it. Just trust the
Yeah.
feeling. You will know when it
Yeah.
fits right, because your soul, heart, and spirit will agree.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And so I agree with that. And I also noticed from my own journey and other journeys too that sometimes it's not about analyzing, but sometimes it's good to check in.
mhm.
Is it my wound that's directing this answer, or is it my soul? Because sometimes our protective mechanisms, right? There's a point when we've healed our traumas enough, we just know,
Yes.
right? Because we've discerned already what it feels like if we're having a trauma answer, right, from our wound or not. But in the process, until we get to that clarity, it's important to just check in, not overanalyze, but check in. Am I feeling an aversion to doing this because it's just a clear insight, or is my wound influencing me a little bit? And
Hmm.
by doing that process, we eventually learn our body language. So then, like
Yes.
you, we then know what our core is.
Yes.
But it's a process to get to that,
Yeah, you don't, this is
right?
not something that
So
happens overnight. It's something that you have to work on. Yeah. Journey on. I
and
used to prefer
we
to
have
say journey
to
on.
heal.
Hmm.
Yeah, we have to heal,
Yeah.
right? We have to know we have to go from here to
Yes.
here, so that I know what's navigating, what's impressing on me to make
Yes.
my choice.
Yeah.
And then once we've done that enough times, then we know our body's language. And then it's not we just know, like you're saying, you just know,
Yeah.
right?
I
So,
also
but it's
know
a
when you're fooling
process.
yourself, oh, no, no, that's not the case. This is something you've got to
You have
deal
to
with,
go,
Oh, I'm just feeling empathetic sadness for the world right now. No, no, that sadness is coming from somewhere else. And I think a lot of empaths sometimes feel a little powerless. They feel the sadness of the world, and they feel powerless because, of course, the first thing they want to do is just go out and hug the world and say, here is love. And you can do that to a point. You can send out that energetic love. And I think that's sometimes all we can do, is just send out loving blessings to all those that are ready to receive it. Because for some people, it will bounce off them. They're not ready to receive it. And others are hungry and ready to
yeah,
receive it, even though they don't even know where it's
yeah,
coming from.
yeah. Dave Hawkins wrote Power versus Force.
Mm-hmm.
And he was talking about how the impact of one person's, you know, evolving affects how many people.
Mm.
So I'm going to paraphrase, I haven't read it for a while, but I know it was around this line that one human being doing the alchemy to shift anger, right? That moment impacts something like 80,000 people.
Right.
It has the ripple effect. So Power versus Force, it's a really great book. And it really depicts, and he measured this through kinesiology, scientifically. He's a doctor too, right? And so, and I found that when I heard that, I'm like, wow, you know, and then it helps to redirect. Yeah, my healing's not just for me, it's for
Right.
everybody
It's
in my
like this show,
ancestry.
not everybody is going to listen to it, but the vibration is already out there and people are receiving it without
Exactly.
knowing,
This
right?
our
Yeah.
conversation is radiating,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And and that's it's a beautiful thing,
Mhm.
right? And so
And we need
and I think
this time and place right now for our energies to shift. You know, this planet is in trouble. The universe is desperately trying to help us, for us to change that consciousness. And in that consciousness, we're in a consciousness of love. We can't knowingly hurt anyone from that state of love. It's a vibration that cannot do that, which also means ourself. And the glow, like the sunlight that comes from the sun, that glow of energy that comes from people that have stepped into the conscious love, you know, it transcends everything. And that's where we need to be right now. So stepping into it for yourself, yes, but to realize that how many people you are helping with that loving vibration is another good reason for you to
you're
place importance upon yourself.
and I'm impacting the trees around me. I'm
Yes.
impacting my plants. I'm impacting
Yes.
my pets. I'm impacting everything. You
Yeah.
know, whenever I make that shift, if there's something, and you know, to shift, that is a powerful moment. And then just maintaining, you know,
Yes.
and understanding that okay, we will all have off moments. We will
Right.
all have moments where we're not as good at it, but those moments are useful because they're showing me something for me to learn.
Right.
So in that sense, it is still perfect, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, if everything again is a feedback system, if I learn from everything that happens to me because I choose to,
Mhm.
then only good can come out of it.
Stop ignoring. Everything is a message. Stop ignoring. You know, if we ignore, and you know, you facing, you know, that doubt or that trauma or that fear about going into the studio, and you're not ignoring that, you're facing it and saying, no, you know, I am not going to let the trauma win. I am going to let
Yeah,
the gratitude of the gift win. Um, that's not
yeah,
ignoring it, but it's ignoring the you know, I'll get to it tomorrow, or you know, I don't really want to deal with that trauma today. You know, I just don't feel like it. And it's like, it's begging you to face you so that it
yeah.
can be released. So stop, keep ignoring and suppressing. Allow.
And see, that's an example of whether a wound is leading me
Yeah.
or my soul.
Yeah.
My wound was trying to get me to not go.
Right.
My wound was trying to say, oh no, I don't feel it, oh I'm not ready or
Yeah.
whatever. That was my wound. That wasn't my high self.
Right.
But I was trying to say, oh no, this is my high self. But it wasn't. Right. And then that counter force was just so strong I couldn't ignore it.
Right.
And then it's like that was my soul. And my
Yes.
soul knew what, you know, what was going to be born. I didn't. But that was a pivotal moment. And I have so many of those moments in my life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right. So that's why the showing up is a part of it in the book. And yeah, it's know thyself. It's the ancient
Yes.
principle. Know
Exactly.
thyself.
Yeah.
The more that I know myself, the more that I'm familiar with my triggers, my mechanisms, my patterns, my beliefs, you know, the unconscious, subconscious drives, the more that I have an awareness, even just that they exist, even though I
Mm.
don't understand them all, but if I know, then that gives me a knowledge and a power to investigate and then to create choice consciously rather than subconsciously.
Yeah. And be the energy that we seek. Because we're all here for a reason. We're all given a gift. We've all got a meaningful purpose. And when you step into that purpose, and then you truly know and you understand why you went through what you went through, and what the
Yeah.
gift is that you've been given, and in that gratitude and grace, you can move forward into helping others on their journey of life. And really, quite simply, isn't that what it's about?
Yeah, and you know, we're all here to share.
Mm,
Storytelling is important. You know,
yes,
hearing other people's stories. How did you do it? How did you make it? It's a basic foundational human need. I mean, that's why we had traveling storytellers and all
right.
the in the different in the more primal cultures, you know, or primal times, you know, in
Mhm.
the Celts, Africa, Native Americans, everywhere. Storytelling is has been an essential part of human evolution,
Right from the
right?
beginning of time, right? So,
And
yeah.
well, we need the storytelling. We need to hear other people's stories, and we need to share our
Yeah.
story, you know. And so yeah, and so that's one of the reasons I wrote the book. I thought, okay, you know, I'll share my story and put it out there, and see if it, you know, if it touches even one life. Again, it's worth
Yes,
it.
exactly,
It's
exactly. Because
worth
when that person resonates with it, it means that you're
it.
speaking to their trauma, but
Yeah.
you're also speaking, to their ability to face it, and that's the important thing.
And to have the capacity. That's my thing is I want, you know, to empower people to know they have so much more power than they realize
Yes.
to transform their lives. We have so much
We have the
power to
solution
transform our
within us. We are what we seek, right? We are the love, we're the solution, we're the gift, we're the ability. It's all within us if we're willing to take that journey in. And
yeah
you were given a gift to give people the skills and the tools in order to be able to take that journey. And that's what it's
yeah
about,
so,
right?
you know, helping people get from the A to the B. So
Yeah,
from where how do we get from the trauma state to feeling that acceptance?
right.
You know, and then that's the journey, and that's what how I teach and share. I help people to have the tools they need to be able to do that,
Now
and
you have a
it's
lot of
pretty
sites
amazing.
here. So would you like to give your sites to everybody? Because there are 4 sites here.
For yeah, foresight. I know. um, so, so the so just now I'm launching out in October, doing a new a live online coaching program. So not pre-recorded.
Mhm.
I'll meet with people live for 12 weeks, where I'm sharing 12 key principles, universal principles framed with the Hawaiian work, to help people to make that journey, to go inward,
Mhm.
to get to know what is going on inside me that I don't know,
Right.
and how can I feel, and how can I share, and what techniques can I do to help me move from here to there, right? And so I just started just launching it now in October. I'm really excited about it because I used to not be into doing online stuff,
Mhm.
but
Yep.
in one
We adjust.
in one of my interviews for my book, a woman invited me to do an online healing call, and it ended up being so powerful. I was like,
Mm.
wow, this works too.
Yes, oh
And
yeah.
so now with COVID, of course, I still have people coming for the personal healing retreats here at the retreat center, but it's less,
Yes.
right? And so I thought, well, how can I, because I love doing what I do, I thought, how can I create something so I can share it no matter where, and then reach a larger community. So now I've created that. So it's called the Aloha Method. And the
Hmm.
website is thealohamethod.ca, not .com.ca, alohamethod.ca. For the personal healing retreats, it is serenitybythesea.com. For my book, it's long, it's going to be on the page, fortunately, but it's
Yes.
Luannah Victoria Arana author.com. And then for the Hawaiian healing work is hawaiianhealinghub.com. So that's everything that has grown through me over these years.
And so the
And
the Helloa method will be where you're having that course.
yes, so that would be the website to read about the Aloha Method and to sign on if you
Hmm.
want to. It's going to be a really beautiful journey. So it's going to be one call a week live talking, and then once a week also a distant group healing session. So where I'll be doing some spiritual response therapy and energy work that helps to move and release whatever's blocking on an energetic level. Yeah, and that'll be for 12 weeks.
And of course,
Yeah.
on selfdiscoverymedia.com, if you go to Ignite Your Heart and Soul genre, all you have to put in is either The Conscious Alchemist or Luannah Arana, which is Lunnah, and then Arana, The Conscious Alchemist, and her show will come up. And all of the links and her book, where to get that, and music that she has there is all there. So then you can just reach out to her on the many things, and you also are going to have a gift for someone, a gift for a
Yes,
lucky
I'm
person.
having, yeah, I have a CD that hasn't been released yet. It's a
Mm.
crystal singing bowl chakra journey, going through all the chakras, including some Hawaiian healing chants and flute music. So I'm offering that as a giveaway for people who want to opt in, and
Excellent.
who are also interested in perhaps doing some work with me. And if
Hmm.
not, that's fine too. I want you to enjoy that music. really healing and nurturing. The harmonics of the crystal bowls really penetrate deeply into our genetics, into our cells, into our consciousness,
Yeah.
and just help move so much energy. And so
Yeah.
even if you don't join me in the Aloha method, then you've got a healing tool that I trust will serve you well.
No, I am the
Yeah.
crystal bowl healing.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, it's very, very vibrational. It's just wonderful. It's very transcending. I love it. But you've
Yeah.
done a song for us to clear out, finish off with the show today, and that's with a flute. So can you tell us about this piece of music?
Yeah, so that piece is recorded in Hawaii. You'll even hear the corky frogs in the background. Yeah, so I love the corky frogs.
They join
They're the
in.
little
They're
frogs.
part of the orchestra there.
Yeah. And so that was a live recording. It's one of my favorite recordings, and also to bring in the energy of Hawaii because that's where it was. So the environment is also in the music. Yeah.
And
So
it's
it's
very,
kind
very
of one of my
beautiful. And we're going to close out with that. Plus, you'll be able to listen to that actually when you go to her show page. It will be there individually too for you to listen and put onto your phone. And anytime you're feeling a little traumatized or stressed out, it's a great piece of music to listen to just while you're breathing in getting yourself back into your now. Because, you know, obviously sometimes traumas trigger at an inopportune time and you can't deal with it right at that moment. So you just need to take a breath and say, okay, trauma, I hear you. I'll get back to you later. Right now, I need to be calm and centered.
Or let me meet you. Hey,
Yes.
here I am. What's your name?
Yes.
What can we do here? So again, it's not about avoiding, it's about meeting. So that
Yeah.
music can create an environment where you can feel safe and nurtured to actually encounter the traumas that are coming up and the moments and to transform them. The alchemy, become your own inner alchemist.
Yes.
Every thought you have is creating alchemy.
Yeah.
Every thought, you know, a thought of negativity is creating the alchemy of creating more negativity. Every thought that is towards your evolution and your highest good will bring to you everything that is towards your highest good and for your next best step in the evolution. So the inner alchemy is really learning to navigate moment to moment. What are my thoughts? What are my stories?
And
And
feed what you
doing
want, right? Don't feed the negativity. You know, you feed the possibility by feeding the frequency, feeding the vibration. And when anything triggers up there, don't go into a negative feeling of it. As you said, hello, what are you doing here? What's your story? And then you can
get
face
curious.
it, right? Yeah.
Get curious.
Yes.
Wow, what is this?
Yeah.
Activate that sense of play, right? That childlike curiosity of discovery and exploration. Activate that, and it's a whole different world that opens up.
Don't
You
panic.
know?
Please don't panic, because then you're in the wrong energy to face it, right? It's like when people have dreams, you know, oh, I dreamt I died, or I dreamt this and that. Well, you know, that doesn't mean it's going to be so. It's always a reflection of something that you need to be told. And you know, don't be so absolute on what's being shown to you. There's always the shadows around it. The more than that one thing on the painting, look at the whole scenery, because there's a whole story to be told there, right? Don't get fixated on one thing.
Or if you find yourself getting fixated, then get curious. Why do I fixate on this? Right? I mean, we're human. Those moments happen. We can't not make them happen. They will at different times, but just a matter of, so what do I do with this now?
Yeah.
What is my opportunity here?
Yeah.
To learn about myself.
Opportunity. Always
What is my
opportunity,
opportunity?
isn't it? There's always something possible, and there's always an opportunity presenting to you, whether it's something to learn or something that you need to do, or play, you know, space and place where you need to be. And if we tune in, then we'll always be guided right. Even if something else raises its head, it's like, okay, you know, maybe that particular trauma isn't for you. It's to reflect the person you're with, as an indication of, that trauma, that's what you're going through. You know, it could be a mirror of what somebody else is going through. So be inquiring, right? Be wondrous. And the moment you
And
stop
that's how we,
wondering, you know.
yeah. And that's how we ignite our inner
Yeah.
spark, really. That's
Yes.
the name of your show. How do I ignite my inner spark? To be present, to accept what is, and then use it in the most useful way I can to learn and grow and make my life better.
Yeah.
Right? And love myself.
Yes.
You know, and learn to, and just even if it's hard, just grow that compassion that yes, me and the whole world, we're walking around with a backpack of trauma,
Yes.
you know, and every negative response and reaction or violence, it is born of trauma.
Right.
Doesn't make it right.
Nope.
There's no making right. But if I can at least understand it,
Yeah.
then I can process it.
Yes.
And then it doesn't register as strongly as trauma in my
Doesn't start
body.
weighing you
Because
down so much. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I can process it, right? And so, and for me, that's was my goal, and you know, I've reached that, and continue to fine tune it in
Mm-hmm.
moments when I have moments,
Yeah.
because we all do,
Yeah.
right? But there's a point, you get to a point where those moments, they last maybe 2 seconds
Yeah.
instead of a day,
Yeah.
right, or a minute or whatever.
No, there could be
And
sometimes just
so,
a reminder to give yourself a hug. You know, you're
yeah,
giving all your love
yeah,
away right now. Hey, you know, this is where the arms need to go around you, you know, or put on a piece of music that's
and
going to nurture you. And sometimes that could be as simply as what it is, reminding you to love you.
yeah, and just being present
Mm.
and kind.
Yeah.
Kindness is huge.
Oh,
We got to be kind with ourselves
yeah.
and kind with each other. And when we understand that there's trauma at the root of everything, then that can invoke kindness.
Yeah.
Because then, you know, we imagine the hurt that our little self went through or that we went through. And then we think, well, if it was somebody else in front of me, how would I respond? I would be kind,
Yeah. Compassionate.
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, so grows kindness. And then, you know, and kindness and understanding doesn't mean that we don't have boundaries and we don't
Right.
say no. It just means we do it differently.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a different energy behind it of clarity versus reactivity and
Mm.
protest and anger,
Right.
right? So we still have boundaries, you know, and that's a funny thing that, you know, in a lot of spiritual, um, you know, ways, it's like it's supposed to be, oh, unconditional love and oh,
Yes.
give everything, right? And that truth is being taken out of context in
Yes.
that moment,
Yeah.
very greatly out of context. So yes, we can have love, but we also, loving ourselves is a part of it too, of having a boundary and saying no to harmful behavior.
Right. From ourselves or
Right.
anyone else. So,
From ourselves or anyone else,
mm-hmm.
right? So just to bring that little clarity in there too, right?
Mm-hmm.
That it's important, we, no matter how loving and compassionate we want to be and can be, those boundaries will be hit sometimes by some individuals, and it's okay to say no.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're not bad people, and we're not less spiritual because of it, you
Right.
know. And that's a misconception that I have encountered many times,
Yeah.
you know,
And
that a
that took
spiritual
me a while
person,
to learn to say no, you know, because it
yeah,
was like, you know, it was always wanted to do something and you find yourself in a pretzel or drained, you know, because they were piranhaing your energy. And it took me a while to realize what was happening to me by saying yes and how I was not helping them or helping me or anybody else. And that no would have been kinder. So, yeah. Yeah, it does, as you said, doesn't make you a bad person. It just means that you know where you need to go, what you need to do, and if it's not right, it's not right for you in that moment.
and that's again the eternal now when
Mm,
I'm present, right? Because the other stuff is influenced by the fear of letting people down in the future, or them being upset, or the past,
right.
right? So being present to feel what is really authentic in this moment,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah,
Based on the moment. And then I make my choice based on that, not on the other two sides that are pulling me like a
yeah.
tug of war in between, right? Yeah.
Now, to do with the CD, would you like people to email you on how to get the CD and the limit that you have?
Um, on my page, I'm going to be sending you a link that's an opt-in link that they
Okay,
can put the email address in, and then they'll receive the link to download.
excellent. Okay, so
Yeah.
folks, great opportunity here for you to get some wonderful music that can just, you know, soothe you in a way that makes you want to look at your traumas and face them and heal yourself. And sometimes say, you know, that might be the first step, just some music to set the stage in which for you to step into your own role of life. So a wonderful gift. And as I said, it will be on her show page right here, Self-Discovery Media and Ignite Your Heart and Soul. Just put in her name and you will find it on her show page. So this has been wonderful. Thank you so much, love, sharing
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.
And
Yeah.
we're going to go out with this wonderful piece of music. and just sit back, listen to it, dance to it, fly to it, whatever you need to do to it, but just let it immerse you. It's a beautiful piece of music, and it's so soothing. And I think, yeah, just download it to your phone. You're in traffic, you're somewhere else, you're realizing things are rising up, and just play some of this music to breathe, to calm you back down. Because maybe if you're driving. Hmm?
Interrupting those moments is how we heal those
Yeah,
moments. So
yeah,
that's a good suggestion.
yeah,
Music, or me barefoot, or
yeah,
doing something, to finding action
yes.
that you can do to interrupt the cycle of reaction.
Hmm.
And each interruption ends up changing it
Yes,
until eventually it's not there anymore.
right, exactly, shifting
Then
it.
we write a whole new neural network in the brain, and the old
Yes,
one literally biologically dies off, which is
yes.
very cool.
Well, it serves nothing
Yeah,
anymore, right? So if it's not being used, it's going to go. So
exactly.
put in things that you want to use, and that are always going to be there for you, and then they will always be current, right?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being with us here today. And we're going to sit back now and listen to this wonderful piece of music, folks. And I hope that you've learned a great deal about yourself today, but to also understand you are the answer you seek, but the guiders, the people that have gone before you, have the tools, have the wisdom, have the knowledge to put in your backpack so that you can start tossing out of your backpack the things that are weighing you down. You want to be able to go through life with a beautiful leap and a wonderful flow. So those traumas can go, and you can step into that beautiful divine energy of the now and understand why you're really here and what you're really here to do. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.